truth and transparency.
Good up, guys. How we doing?
Transparency.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Not sure if this is working.
Today is not a day to celebrate. But the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi.
Take care, Miss Vargas. See you soon, Miss Vargas.
Paparazzi, stop.
What is up? Hello, hello, hello. Wow, what a day. Cheers. Please remember to make yourself known. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down. At some point, you're going to have an opinion. We're getting pieces and pieces and pieces of this big puzzle. Is it really truly a puzzle, though? I think there's a lot of people, maybe not the word a lot, but there's people that know exactly what happened in the case. And let's take a look. All right. We are finally at the part where we are hearing from Jen McCabe on cross-examination. And I want to talk about the fact that Alan Jackson flat out said, "You didn't see a body. I never saw a body. Never saw a body." I think he broke it down pretty good for the jurors to see that you said you sat down, got back up, sat down, got back up, sat down, got back up. 5 times she testified in front of a June 2023 grand jury, which was the federal grand jury. Well, I want to take a look at that. Remember, she's married to whatever she said at that grand jury, because if she's saying something different here and now, that's perjury, right? So Miss McCabe being really, really combative, right? But let's take a look. Let me zoom in. Right there at that 12:21 time. Very interesting that her phone, so this is John's phone right here. It pings at 12:19 in the area. And then right here, 12:21, he takes 80 steps within that 12:21 to 12:24 time frame. And between that 12:21 and 12:24 time frame, his phone goes up a flight of stairs 3 different times. 3. Now, something that I know that we can switch here is I thought it was 12:22, pretty accurate. It was 12:23 that Julie's brother texts here. Jen McCabe got that. Now, it's really important to show that 12:24 to 12:31, John's phone Does not move at all. There's no steps. 12:25 to 12:35. Jen's phone and watch, nothing. So what I want to point out is when she was talking to, these are the time frames. I'm going to switch on over to a different screen to show you guys something that she said. Let's go ahead and show you guys on Hector really quick here. Okay. All right, these are the timestamps. Ooh, Lana, I need a smoke alarm. No way. Can you believe that? I wish that's what I needed. I need someone to go in my ductwork. So she deleted all of these. But we're going to look at these. And we're going to look at her movement. Alan Jackson asked her straight up, have you ever lost your phone before or misplaced it? And what do you do when that happens? And she says, well, you call it. You have somebody call it. You know, you're calling it. So take a look. She says, this is when they left. They talked. 12:29. It was her phone to him, and it was like an unknown. But then he finally got her to say that that was something that wasn't answered because he showed her two different extractions. Then 12:41. These are calls. These are not texts. Okay, these are just the calls. So all of these deleted, but 12:41 flat, 12:41 and 54 seconds, 12:43 and 19 seconds, 12:46 and 16 seconds, 12:47 and 52 seconds, and 12:50 and 37 seconds. And he flat out asked her, you were on and asked these questions before, and you said that you believe that this was from a butt dial. Well, there's no voicemails behind any of those butt dials. You know, when you butt dial somebody, they either end up picking up and they hear your conversation, or they hear a bunch of like static, or they don't answer and it goes to their voicemail, and then you then are heard on their voicemail. But John didn't have any voicemails. So then he pointed out that 14 different commands would have to happen. You know where he's getting that from, guys? You know where he's getting that number 14 from? Which I love it, because he's totally worked with Green, his expert, like you wouldn't believe. How he's getting, when he says that there was like 14 commands, it's because of this. It's because A, you would have had to dial it. So you're like dialing it all up, and then it would end. So these two you're not counting because she said that those two are legit. But here, it'd be one to call out. Then you have somehow hang up without leaving a voicemail. So that would be another one. So that's two. The same thing would happen with this one. And then somehow it hung up. Then you called again and somehow it hung up before it left a voicemail. So basically what you're doing is you're taking two commands times each of the phones, or phone calls, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 2 is 14. That's how he got there. All right. That's how he said that 14 commands would have had to happen in your ass, separate. And that knew that each time when it was happening, it would call, hang up, then call that same number, hang up before the voicemail picked up, call, hang up, or to leave a voicemail. Now let's take a look at this. All right. 12:24, 12:31. He doesn't make any movement. She, though, calls him at 12:29. And like 16 seconds. But Jen's phone, when she makes that call, before that at 12:27, this was the big point of contention, which was at the 12:27 text. All right. She texts him at 12:27 to say here. I'm doing this with you guys so you could see 12:27. Jen's phone. And this is actually from the extraction. Okay, now I want to show you guys something. 12:27, she says, I texted here as I was walking on over because she saw it. And then she said here, she walked on over to the window. You guys, Jen McCabe does not move and has no movement from 12:25 to 12:35. You guys see that right here, 12:25 to 12:35, no movement. So John's phone isn't moving. Whoopsies. For 5 to 6 straight minutes. Jen's phone, which means it's also her watch, does not move for 10 straight minutes. So the best part about it is that when Nagel and Levinson said that Jen was sitting over by them, Jen actually plugged their phone in and it was laying on the ground. Okay, so her phone's laying on the ground. I don't give a fuck what her phone was doing. She has a watch on. Okay, that watch is... She doesn't move with her watch nor her phone. So do I believe that she plugged it in? It could have just be laying somewhere. Sure. Yeah. Awesome. But her physical body with her watch on does not move from 12:25 to 12:35. But guess what? It didn't have to because John went in that house. John went in that home. (12:21 to 12:24), 80 total steps, as well as from 12:21 to 12:24, 3 floors. Then his phone does not move from 12:24 to 12:31. His phone does not move at all. She then texts at 12:27 to say here. Then at 12:29 and 59 or 53 seconds, she calls and they actually talk for 8 seconds. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, I believe that Karen Reed wanted to know if somebody was going to be there. Like, why didn't she go in right away? Why didn't she just walk in with him? Well, make sure that we are, it's cool that we're here. Right. So if Jen McCabe was in fact sitting, because there's actually she doesn't register any steps with her phone. She has there's no phone data that says that I've ever had, unless they are going to present it tomorrow. None of her phone data says that she went up any flights of stairs. Okay. And that's really important. That means that she didn't go down in the basement and then come up. She didn't go upstairs and then come back down. She stayed on that front level or on that first level. So I went and looked at old pictures of every time that they'd be hanging out at that house. And that house, it's not just the front little area, which I went ahead and made a little diagram of where they said people were situated. It's like this. They use that back area. So so there's just like this little hallway here, that little foyer. Right there is the basement door, like right when you pass out, like right there. But based on everybody and where they said people were, if I give you the fact that there's 2 chairs on that side, you got Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel. You have Nicole over here. You have Sarah Levinson. She said she was up against the family room wall, which is on this side. Then you have Jen McCabe as JM, Matt McCabe. You have Caitlin Albert who's standing up, who's like over here because she's controlling the music. So she's standing. And then you have Brian Albert and Higgins standing. And that's why they're like this. And Caitlin Albert's over here, so it looks like that. She's over by playing the music. All right. However, Julie Nagel and Sarah Livingston slip up and they say that there were people hanging out in the family room, which is that next room over that actually goes out the back slider. You can go out a back slider over there, and it's in like an enclosed, like a sunroom. And that's actually where one of the pictures that are taken of Colin Albert and Brian Albert doing like their famous, poses. So let's go back to $12:29 call that was answered. 12:41, 12:41 and 54, 12:43, 12:46, 12:47, 12:50, and 37 seconds. I believe that John got turned around in the house in terms of if he goes down the stairs to go into the basement, you're going to have an expert say, did Apple change their ways? And if you actually go down a flight of stairs, does that count as going up? Like, does that give you one floor? I don't know. Back in the day, it used to be that you had to go up. Okay. So if and in fact he comes in because Karen Reed was like, well, I don't want to come. If Higgins is there, I'm not going in. So find out if Higgins was going back. All right. There has to be a reason that she didn't go with him up to the door to say like, okay, are we, she doesn't come across the type to be like shy about it, or she would just walk up there with him. Right. So I believe that Karen wanted to know if somebody was going to be there or not. And so John was more or less making sure that somebody wasn't going to be there. Okay. And so if John came in and whoever was right there, and then they go like downstairs, like immediately or whatever, if that's going to be counting as a flight, this all has to happen in 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, like 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 27 seconds. If he then walks up to leave up out, like to come back upstairs, how does he then end up downstairs again? Like, what would be his reasoning for being, back downstairs? Because I don't believe that somebody was running with his phone from that time period. I believe that he was checking to see if somebody was here, because Karen does not want to go in there if maybe Higgins is somebody. Okay. In that basement, you're looking at, they have like this little workout room that has like these dumbbells and shit. In the back of John's head, it has like that gash that looks like it could be like from a dumbbell, like the corner of it, right? But let's go back to this. And I want to go back to Alan Jackson was saying something to us today, which was, Jen, you were trying to separate John and Karen Reed, right? For example, let's say that Karen Reed would have said, yes, I'll ride with you. I'll ride with you. This is what doesn't make sense. How does Matt McCabe get home? How does Matt McCabe get home? How does Matt McCabe get to where he's going? Meaning 34 Fairview. They only have one vehicle, unless that's a lie. But if Karen would have left with Jen, you're leaving 2 people there without a vehicle. John doesn't have one and neither does Matt, right? Or was it like you're coming with us, and then when Matt would have left, that they were just going to leave John? And it would have been but Karen had enough wherewithal. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to come with you. My car's here. I'm John's ride. Like, do you think she tried to say something like, oh, well, he'll just ride with Matt? Matt doesn't have a car. John would have taken Karen's car. For what purpose? I don't believe anything these people have said. I don't believe it. The only people that we've heard from that I believe are the Kolakidases, and that's it. Who else has testified? Yeah. What was the big deal to talk about that Karen Reed was so all about going to D&Es? Like that had to be in there. Really weird, right? So John makes steps. John's phone, rather, makes steps. I'm going to show you. I do have a point here, and I'm getting there. John's phone. Okay. So she texts at 12:27 here. 12:31, she says, pull pull up behind me. Okay. And this is when I said, bingo, got it. I said, exactly. She knew that John left. Oh. Oopsies. Don't know what just happened there. That's really weird. She knew that John stepped out. She knew that I personally believe that Jen McCabe and everybody knew that John came in there and had to go back outside to then get Karen to come in. Okay. And because he said, all right, I'm going to go grab Karen. Right. And so he is going to go to get her. And this whole thing of like, pull up behind me. I do believe it was because, all right, you're going to go out there and grab her. We just want to make sure this was the right house. We just also want to make sure that somebody maybe wasn't here. Okay. So whatever. But it was a long enough period of time that John does all this from 12:21 to 12:24 and then doesn't move for 5 to 6 minutes. Okay. His phone doesn't move for 5 to 6 minutes. And I believe that if the dog was let out in the backyard, if John got twisted around and people were actually in that back room, like I believe they were, that John went out the slider back there and then encountered the dog, right? And that the reason that they lost the phone, okay, is because in the shuffle that happened outside in the backyard, that's where the phone was. I don't know if John had it in his hand, right? Your back pocket. But I believe that his phone came off of his person. And it wasn't in a very noticeable spot. If it was, you would not need to call it that many times. They couldn't find it because it was outside in the backyard and it was dark. Which would make sense of how he was running into then and where he could have met the dog, right? Because if and in fact you're in the house and your phone's like on the counter, you're going to hear that vibration. You're also going to hear it possibly ring, right? But if it's out back and it's in the grass, it's going to be a lot harder. I do not believe that they were obviously butt dials, right? But so the question is remember I told you guys at 12:49, for whatever reason, Jen McCabe like fucking flatlines it. She goes and she drops her heart rate down to 66. And I was like, geez, what the hell? Like, you know, it's like, it's like she's about to pass out. Would you guys think that? It was like she was about to pass out. So then I got to thinking that was it in fact that she couldn't find his phone, right? Or was it she had talked to him, spoke with him. He was supposed to go outside and grab freaking Karen. And so he's like, what the hell's going on? So she's starting to call. Like, where are you? Because she was calling well after the SUV would have left. Now let's take a look. Let's scroll down here. Right here, 12:31 to 12:32, John's health data, 36 steps. That's going to be the last time that his phone moves until the morning. And 12:31 is the same, like during that time period. Remember, Jen's still sitting down. See that? She doesn't move until 12:35. Like she's not moving. Because then at 12:35, because 12:25 to 12:35, she's not moving. 12:35 to 12:45, she then is running around 148 steps from 12:35 to 12:45. 148 steps. And this is why this is the testimony of when, we started playing a song and we were dancing around, Raining Men. That's what that's for. It's to already have a story as to why you would have 148 steps from 12:35 to 12:45. But that doesn't make any sense because you said you kept on going back over to the window, back and forth, back and forth. But that's the reason that she has that stupid fucking story is because of that right there. Raining Men bullshit. Now let's talk about she slipped up. This Nagel shit. We got it out of her that obviously the SUV was there before Nagel arrived, but this is actually going to be Jen's statement. And she then says that Julie Nagel's brother texted here, and he said in his statement that he did that prior to even getting there, just to like give her a heads up that he said here, but he wasn't all the way there yet. And then so he then texts again, in which she slips up and she says that her brother then was texting, if you're not going to get out here, I'm leaving. If you're not going to get out here, I'm leaving. That's interesting to me. Totally interesting to me. If you're not going to get out here, I'm leaving. So then 12:31 again. Like I said, 36 steps. There's no up and down though. It's just straight steps. 12:35 to 12:45, the 148, 12:40, she texts, 12:41, John's phone receives a call. Then that 12:41 is a little bit later. So she texts hello at 12:40. And then 12:41 called, 12:41 called. And then she doesn't start doing her crazy ass shit. Then 12:43, 12:46, 12:47, 12:50. 12:50 and 37 seconds. But right here, she like basically flatlines it. See all these missed calls? That's John's phone missing her calls. Oopsies. Now, one other thing I want to show with that is hold on, I have to grab Allie McCabe's shit. Hold on one second. Allie, get over here. Ooh-wee. This is how I was able to show that she didn't go anybody's stairs or down. That's her phone. All right, this is Allie McCabe's Life 360. Let's see if we can pay attention to this. 12:30ish, she thought she got home, and then he's like, okay, let's talk about your Life 360. At 12:23 and 14 seconds, she made a 7-mile trip. She was driving 42 miles an hour, so I should just tell you that it's not bad out. So I think that she actually completed her 7-mile trip. 12:06, 12:23, and then 12:26, she left home again. And the reason that Yannetti is talking about Canton High School is because of this bubble. And that's just not accurate for him to just say it like that. So 1 mile drive, 43 miles per hour. She's basically in a mile radius from her house. Does that mean that she's at the high school? 12, 26, and 56 seconds. So then he thinks that she was leaving Canton High School because then she got back home at like 12, 29, and 38 seconds. She's just inside that bubble. And just like, so I would have just said that differently if I was him. 12:29 and 28 seconds, 12-mile drive. And so what it looks like, I just want to show you guys. So I went out and grabbed my old stuff. I used a different case, but it's the same thing for you to know how Life 360 works if you've never seen it before. Now, I want to tell you guys at 12:29, I think it's interesting that she had just talked. Well, 12:29, she says that butt dial with Jen McCabe happens. All right. Well, also at 12:29, it looks like Allie is leaving the house and she's inside this radius. Okay. So it's in a bubble. So she could be anywhere within this bubble. And as long as she doesn't leave the bubble, it won't tell you the exact location. It just they're probably gonna have somebody testifying to what this bubble means. But I want to show you something, for example. This is what Life 360 looks like. Coming back out. Okay, so 16-mile drive. See how you have the drive button there? That's what it looks like. Like the this is how I caught somebody lying. So see how you have like it's a drive, and then once you get to where you're going, from like 11 a.m. to like 11:46 a.m. See how like this has like this. That means that they were at this location, and they don't use the exact location. They just say something that's near it. So they were at this location from 11 a.m. until 11:46 a.m. How they got, because it goes in reverse order. So 10:41 a.m. they took a 16-mile drive, and they got to their destination. So they came from over here, and there's a picture of it. Okay, this is Life 360. All right. And so then at 11:46, so I want to show you. So they were there until 11:46, right? Then they're getting, at 11:46, they decided to leave where they were. So you're going to see the drive symbol. And they drove 14 miles. So 12:20. And they took this route. And they went back on over here. And then do you see how, then you have that stationary. Look at that. You have the little symbol to say that you're stationary. 26 minutes. So from 12:20 to 12:27. This is how I caught Nicole. This is how I call Nicole Atkinson in The Biggest Lies of Life. But next. This is how you could tell that somebody just made a loop. All right. Next here at 12:47 p.m. to 1:13 p.m. It's a 25-minute trip. It's 16 miles. And what it is that you see how the starting point is also the end point? Like before here, you have something that looks like this and that. They're two different type of symbols. It's because you started somewhere and then you ended up somewhere. And that's the destination. And this is what the symbol looks like when you start. So here, see, starting, ending. Now, when you look at this picture here, do you see how there is just the one, it's where you started. Okay. And so when Nicole Atkinson did her little thing with the Chris Watts case and said that she then drove to the doctor's office to go see if Shanann had actually went to her appointment that day. Well, when I looked at this 3Life 360, I said, that's fucking lie. The data shows me right here that this woman, your Life 360 is on your phone, okay? And I went to Frederick, Colorado to test this out. That she got in her vehicle and left at 12:47, and that she's back then where she is leaving the house. She goes back to that same spot. See how here, 1:13, she's back. There would be an end point. Okay, there would be an end point, just like that, just like this. That's the end point. That's the beginning. Here, you just have your end point, and see how it's a little thicker up top? It's because the end point and the starting point are the same. And the only way that that happens is if you don't get out of your vehicle. You have to continuously drive and not get out, because what it pays attention to is when you're driving, and then let's say like I get out of the car, for example. If I would have got out, if she would have gotten out of the car to then go up to the doctor's office, to then go to the people and ask them, hey, did my friend make it to an appointment or not? All right. That's then going to end that trip. That walking would have ended that trip. And then when she would have gotten back into her car, all right, it would have started a new trip. And then she's driving back. Also, take a look at this. This is 25 minutes. So it's basically 12 and a half minutes one way, 12 and a half minutes back. And you have to do this all within 25 minutes. The only way that's possible is if it's a continuous trip. She knew, Nicole Atkinson knew that she had to act like she went over that way, but she already knew that Shanann didn't make the appointment because of other things, but she couldn't say that she was ever inside that house. So that's why she had to do this. But anyways, so going back over here, this 12-mile drive, 12:29, 12:31, in order to get 12 miles here, I think I messed up when I wrote that down, but she left her house at 12:31 and 22 seconds, and that 12-mile drive ended at 1:08 and 15 seconds. And it's very interesting to me to see that she did that, a 12-mile, so it's like 6 miles one way, 6 miles back. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to pull up Google Earth for you guys. All right, give me that address. It's 7 Country. Oh, wait, no, hers is 12. Country Lane, Canton, Mass. Okay. Let me share the screen with you. Wait, this is the wrong one. All right, so here's the McCabe's house right here. So we'll make sure you guys can see it if it's sharing it right. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Oh, let's see. Oopsies. So then here's Fairview. But let's do this type of a look. So there's the train that's behind the house. This is the Fairview house. There's the train. And now, but if you leave out the back where that gate is or whatever, this is the train. This is that shitty ass pool that got filled in, right? Now let's take a ruler. Let's back out. Oh, wait, country lane. Oopsies. There we go. Should be 2 links there. I'm double checking something. Tits. Woo. All right, let's go back to all right, so if Allie doesn't get out of her vehicle and she does a 12-minute or 12-mile drive, 12:31 to 1:08. And then she does something again at 1:28 to 1:30 and 26 seconds, and then 1:32 and 20 seconds. It is McCabe was allowed to delete text messages that were to her daughters, and it's a 2.4-mile drive from 12 Country Lane to 34 Fairview. It's 2.4 miles. But if you add a destination, add a stop, which is Maple Street, you're looking at 10 minutes, 2 stops, And then let's add another one to go to Maple, then to back to her house. Edit the stops. Add a stop. Back to 12 Country. Done. 16 minutes. She would have had to leave her house. Wait, that's wrong. Leave her house, Fairview, then Fairview to Maple, Maple to Country, unless she then went back to where her mom was, which would be 34 Fairview. And then went to 12 Country Lane. Done. It's a 20-minute trip. 12:31 to 1:08. She said she was at a guy's house before she had to pick up Colin. She also said that she was dropping off other people. That was at 11:55, which I don't believe was at 11:55. And then let's go back and check out Jen's text messages. 12:50. I'm just trying to see if Allie McCabe could have ever left with John O'Keefe's phone. With friends like that, who needs enemies? Damn, this thing just keeps jamming up. Allie said the dog was on Elm Street. Oopsies. $34. Hold on one second. I know, crazy, right? Take me back to that spot. Day 12. Okay.
And did you go with your parents or separately? You're familiar with that home at 34 Fairview, right?
Correct.
Place you've been to countless times before. You're related to the people that own it.
Correct.
And you recall from where you were coming from as far as how did you come to Fairview? Would that have been on the Chapman side or the Cedar Crest side, or how did you come?
I don't remember.
And when you get to the home, you obviously park at some point, correct?
Correct.
And where in relation to the house?
I believe in the driveway on the left side. Not entirely sure. I just believe that.
Wait, what?
And when you arrive, what, if any, communication did you send to Colin?
That's where her mom was.
I texted him saying here.
And after you texted that to Colin,
Everyone's texting each other here, by the way. And that's exactly where her mom's vehicle was.
he comes out of the house, is that correct?
Correct.
And when he comes out of the house, about how long a period of time was it from the time that you texted him here to the time that he comes out to the phone?
I'm not sure. A few minutes.
And in the area around the time that you arrived on Fairview Road, what, if anything, do you recall in regards to weather, or what was it to recall?
I believe it was starting to snow. Nothing crazy.
As far as accumulation, what, if anything, did you observe at that time?
Lights on in the house. That's it.
As far as the snow was concerned, was it starting to sort of stick to the ground?
I don't remember.
You text Colin shortly thereafter he comes out, is that right?
Correct.
You recall, you're familiar, obviously, as a couple times now with the house. There were 2 doors in the front of the house, is that right?
Yes.
And do you know which of the 2 doors Colin came out of?
No, I'm not sure.
And when he came down, he came over to the car, correct?
Yes.
You're in the driveway?
Yes.
He gets into what part of the car? Front passenger seat?
Yes, I believe.
And from the time that you, so when you leave from there, where is it that you went?
His house and then my house.
You dropped him off at his house and then you went home?
Correct.
Okay,
Now-
Mr. Lally, we're actually going to break here. We have to break a little bit early, but we'll be back at 2. Okay, so when actually sit in your seat.
Observations did you make of him in regards to his sobriety, as far as what, if any, observations?
What? Well, she must have woke up way
Mr.
late.
McCabe, at some point,
Oh, right there. That's what I want. Okay, check this out.
Oh, no.
now turning your attention to the following day, at some point you woke up, correct?
Yes.
And were your parents home at that point?
Yes.
And were both your parents home at that point?
Yes.
Do you know about what time it was that you woke up next?
No, I do not.
Okay. In order for this to happen, when she woke up and her parents were there, it has to be after 11:30 a.m. for both of her parents to be there. She does not testify to hearing anybody screaming, acting like a fool, nothing. What? Well, she must have woke up way late.
Okay, at some point in August of 2023, did you have occasion to meet with?
Athletes don't sleep in.
Yes, I believe. I'm not sure what time, but on a Zoom.
And was that one trooper or more than one trooper or something?
I believe 2. I'm not sure.
Do you recall any of the names of any of those troopers?
Yuri maybe was one of them. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, so wait, wait. Now, ma'am, following that meeting that you had with troopers from the state police, what, if anything, did you provide to them from your phone?
Text messages with Colin, maybe pictures. I don't know. Definitely the text messages.
And before we get to that, just as far as your phone, what kind of phone did you have at that time?
I believe an iPhone 14 Pro Max, maybe.
And I should have been more specific as far as the time, but the iPhone you're talking about, Pro Max, was that January of 2022
Oh, I'm sorry.
or August of 2022?
That was in August.
And between January of 2022 and August of 2023, did you have the same phone throughout that time period?
I'm not sure. I believe I upgraded. Yeah.
And when you upgraded your phone, what, if any, data sort of carried over from the old phone to the new phone?
Everything.
So as far as chats or text messages or phone contacts, things like that, all of that transferred from one phone to the new phone?
Correct.
And Nora, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you said through apps as well?
Yes.
What kind of apps are they?
For example, like Snapchat.
So you had each other sort of Snapchat information, phone number information, call, text, snap, driven. The father side, mother side.
My mother's sister.
And Colin Albert, obviously last name Albert, he's related to people at Fairview as well.
Correct.
That's sort of on the other side of the family.
Correct.
And do you know what, as far as your conversation with Colin, do you know why he was over at that house that night?
It was little Brian's birthday.
And so he had gone over for that purpose and you went by Victor.
Yes.
And do you recall where you were or sort of who you were with when you first get that text or communication from Colin to pick him up?
Yes, I was at another friend's house after I drove Avery and Danielle home. I went somewhere else.
You drove with 2 friends that you were with earlier home and then you went somewhere else?
Yes, I believe yes.
At that point, did you get a text from Colin?
Yes.
Now,
Okay. She never says who the people, where they lived. I know the people's names. This looks more, like when you look at her data, what she says that she did, that she took 2 people home. But when she says that Colin called after when he called, she was already hanging out with somebody else.
do you recall whether or not the information that you had as to where Colin was that night, is that something that came via text as well, or was that a phone call or some other type of communication?
I knew he was there. Could have been a phone call. I'm not sure.
So were there a variety of different ways that you would have communicated?
She doesn't say, I took him to the party. That's how I know that he was there. Colin testified that she brought him to the party.
With Colin around that time.
Yes, there's other apps as well. Yes.
I'm sorry, you said through apps as well?
Yes.
What kind of apps are they?
For example, like Snapchat.
So you had each other sort of Snapchat information, phone number information, call, text, snap, ribbon, any of those.
Yes.
Now,
Did you talk to your mom
when
before you came there?
Get that communication from him to come pick him up, about how long a period of time was it from the time that you get the text from Colin to the time that you arrived in the area?
I'm not sure.
And you're familiar with that home at 34 Fairview, right?
Correct.
Place you've been to countless times before. You're related to the people that don't.
Correct.
And do you recall from where you were coming from, as far as how did you come to Fairview? Would that have been on the Chapman side or the Cedar Crest side, or how did you come?
Just a minute on this.
Why, Bev? What the heck were you doing?
Now, when you had that Zoom interview on August 25th, you told the trooper that you drove Colin straight to his house after you picked him up on January 29th, and then you went straight home, correct?
Yes, I believe.
And you have previously testified back in August of 2023 that you believe you dropped Colin Albert off at his home at around 12:15, 12:20 or so?
Correct.
And when you left, by the way, you're very familiar with 34 Fairview, right?
Correct.
That's family, correct?
Correct.
Been over there many, many, many times, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with the neighborhood in terms of the streets that are around there, right?
Correct.
And you've lived in Canton your whole life?
Yes. Yeah.
When you were a baby, you were in Stoughton?
Yes.
Basically, you're a Canton girl, right?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury the route that you took home from 34 Fairview? Or actually, strike that. The route that you took to Colin Albert's house when you left 34 Fairview on January 29th?
I don't remember specifically, but I would believe I drove up Fairview. Then, sorry, I don't know the streets.
If I suggested to you that the street closest to 34 Fairview was Cedar Crest, and the one on the other side is Chapman, does that refresh your memory?
Yeah, so Chapman.
Okay, so
I
you would have
believe.
gone up and gone to Chapman and taken a right or a left?
Really bad with directions. When I got there, I went to the center of town, his house. I don't know specifically which way. I'm trying to think of it. I can't picture it. Yes.
Are you familiar with Washington Street in Canton?
Yes.
Would you have wound up on Washington Street?
Yes.
All right. And you're aware that the Canton Library is on the corner of Washington and Sherman Street? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you would have passed by the library?
Yes.
Now, with regard to
Are we heard in the library?
whether you went straight home, did you, by the way, when you went
That's really
home,
important because
did
they
you
have
stay
the
there?
Yes, I believe so.
they have the camera footage from the Canton Library. So that's why he was trying to ask her this and which way she went. It's really important. Now, based off of the data that we have here, okay, you know how like when you drop off like your boyfriend or your girlfriend in high school and you get to their house and then like you wait because you're like making out in the car? I think her data is indicative of from 12:26 and 12 seconds a.m. to 12:29 that she was sitting around doing something, but she had just arrived somewhere because she was somewhere from 12:23 to 12:26. And then she left again at 12:31. And then she doesn't get back home until 1:08. And then she leaves again at 1:08, comes back at 1:28 and 8 seconds. And I believe she's walking. Is she a smoker? If she would take a walk once she got home, and then go inside. Your Life 360 app could have you walking. Her last category is 1:32 and 20 seconds at home. But she told everybody that she got home at She thought 12:30. Okay. So there's this 1 hour of missing time. If in fact she picked up Colin at 12:10, dropped him off, and then went home, she would have actually been like, 12:30 at the latest. But her Life 360 shows that she was 100%. And then this is what she wanted to argue. She wanted to argue that it wasn't accurate. Okay. Because Wi-Fi wasn't on. No, you're wrong. Life 360 is accurate. It's just like, it's GPS. And just because you're in this little bubble so that your parents can't know where you're at, like it just doesn't give you an exact location, but it puts you in a radius. And you could set that radius from anywhere between 3 miles to 25 miles. And if you go outside of that radius, then it will burst, the bubble bursts, and then it lets you know your exact location. That's how these bubbles work. She could also hit an emergency button, or if you got in a car accident, it would automatically burst. All right. Now, what these bubbles also do is they only last for 6 hours. So you would have had to set it at some point, and then it will run for, 6 hours. And once the 6 hours is up, the bubble bursts. Okay. So it's interesting to me that she would be in a bubble at 1:30 in the morning. All right. That means that bubble would have had to be set at, if it's set at 6:30, like you're going to have then till 12:30. If you set it at okay, here, I'm going in my bubble, on, Mom, on Fridays and Saturdays, I get to be in my bubble. Right. But the app has the exact locations when you would actually go to subpoena this shit. If you subpoenaed this, you could actually, it's only a bubble masking who's looking at your phone, but it's not a bubble to the data that you can go and get. For example, the feds, if they went and were able to obtain, if they got all this shit, the data isn't masked, and it has nothing to do Wi-Fi. Oh, if it getting better, whatever the fuck she tried to read off of. It's not even how that works. This is GPS. It has nothing to do with Wi-Fi. This is GPS. This is your Google, when you hit Google Maps and you're telling your phone, because you're in your car and you want directions, and you're using Google to take you, make a right here, make a right there. So the only people that the masking is for the people that are actually viewing the app, but it doesn't mask your data that you would actually get extracted and be able to then, in something like this. I'm trying to explain that the best way that I can.
We're in the rest of the night?
Yes.
The library has a camera. Oh shit, here we go. Come on.
Okay, and what time do you say that you arrived at home?
I'm not sure.
I wish you would have asked her what her curfew is. Ask what her curfew is.
With regard to Life 360, would you agree with me that if you go on that app and you're trying to figure out at 12:06 and 55 seconds on January 29th, you left that home circuit, correct?
Correct.
And then on January 29th of 2022 at 12:23 and 14 seconds, you completed a 7-mile drive where your top speed was 42 miles an hour. Does that make sense?
Correct.
And then you left home on January 29th of 2022 at 12:23 and 14 seconds as well. And what that probably means, reading between the lines, is that you entered that home circle, but then you didn't go home. You went through the home circle and completed a 7-mile drive somewhere, right?
I guess I thought I went home.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
I believe I went home.
Okay.
I was completing my drive at my house.
All right, but at 12:26 a.m. on January 29th, you left home again, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did you leave home?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
All right. And at 12:26 a.m. and 12 seconds, you arrived
Okay, so what this is telling me, listen to this last part.
at the Canton High School, correct?
No.
On January 29th of 2022, At 12:26 and 55 seconds, you completed a 1 mile drive where your top speed was 43 miles per hour, right?
I don't believe so.
And then at 12:26 and 55 seconds on January 29th, you left Canton High School and arrived at home on January 29th of 2022 at 12:29 and 28 seconds, correct?
I do not know.
And then after arriving home again on January 29th of 2022 at 12:29 and 29 seconds, you completed a 12-mile drive on January 29th of 2022 at 12:31 and 22 seconds. Did you not?
No.
And then you left home on January 29th of 2022 at 1:08 and 15 seconds, right?
I don't believe so.
And ultimately, you went through the home bubble and the Canton High School bubble, and you arrived at Canton High School on January 29th.
Okay, so he doesn't understand. I personally believe that he has this wrong. He has the times right, but I want to explain what this means. Okay. When you create a bubble, you're masking your exact location, like the exact location. You're not masking the area that you're in, because the bubble, okay, it just, wherever you're at. So let's say your home bubble. So your parents say, okay, yeah, I'm putting a 10-mile radius around our house, or like basically inside of Canton. It's going to let me know if you leave Canton, it's going to burst that bubble. So I'm not going to follow you on Friday nights that way you don't think that like I'm totally snooping on you. Okay. I'm trying to build trust with my kid. So on Friday nights, we create this bubble for you. And so it would be the house, and then in a radius of like, just the Canton area. But if you were to leave outside that, to drive outside of Canton, which is, let's say they do a 10-mile radius. If you leave any which way outside of that radius, the bubble will burst. And then therefore, then your parent can then see your exact location. So let's say that a parent is fine with the kid driving around and being in Canton, but you're not allowed to leave Canton. And so therefore, if you go outside that bubble, outside of Canton, it'll burst. But it's still, so what it will tell you is that you're making trips inside the bubble. Now, what she doesn't understand is that to the users, like the parents that would be looking at this, yeah, you don't know my exact location. You just know that I'm inside this bubble, inside this radius that anywhere between, like, it could be 3 miles or 25 miles. But if you actually go and you get the data, the GPS is always on, 100%. The GPS is always on. It's still tracking you because you're sharing locations, which means if you go and you actually get a subpoena for this, it's not going to say, oh, we can't give you this data because it was in some bubble. No, it's only a bubble for like the people that are viewing it, for the moms and the dads. It's not a bubble for like the data behind it. It's not in some bubble. It's not lost. And so this is why I believe that Yannetti set her up. There is no way that Yannetti and Alan Jackson would not know this. There's absolutely no way. Okay. And therefore, if it in fact, when Jen McCabe's phone was extracted and all that shit came out because it was extracted, right, from her phone and these apps, and they went as far as to get the Life 360 app, depending on what they got from it. Then the Life 360 app is all its own feature because you have an account with Life 360. It's an app, and you're going to have some password to get in and all that stuff. So then you can just subpoena Life 360, and you can do a subpoena with Life 360, or like a search warrant, whatever it is. And so when people are out there going to say that it's not accurate or this is off, abso-fucking-lutely not. Or how she tried to say it, well, no, this couldn't have happened. No, this couldn't have happened. Yannetti fumbled it, I believe, on purpose. But what he was trying to say is that you're inside this bubble, And you could be driving wherever you want inside this bubble, and it's recording when you're doing this stuff. We just don't know exactly where you're going, but you're inside this bubble. And so you 100% were making moves in your vehicle, going from here or there or there. And so when she was a smartass and she said, there's no way that I could get from Canton High School to my house in 52 seconds or whatever it was, like a minute and 52 seconds or whatever it was when Lally thought he was a fucking genius when he said that. Lally, you're a fucktard. Okay. That has nothing. Like, she made a 1 mile trip within that radius during that time. There are no exact points that you could tell from actually screenshots, which I believe that there was screenshots. I'm very interested in knowing more about this because you're sharing locations. And I went and spoke with who I believe is a very, very amazing expert and said, all you gotta do is subpoena Life 360, get a search warrant for Life 360. You get that, there's no bubble. That's the data. And you're always sharing locations because in order for even to make a bubble, they have to know where the fuck you're at to make that bubble. So you're always sharing your exact locations and then you're setting up this bubble. And it's all GPS, just like Google Maps would when you're typing it in to go to a friend's house. When you're typing in and you're listening to Google Maps, does it tell you to turn, an hour before you're supposed to turn? Does it tell you to turn 5 minutes before you're supposed to turn? It's pretty accurate, no? Google Maps. It's not accurate because the bubble gives you a leash. Wrong. 100% wrong. It's 100% accurate if you have the data. If we're looking at it from the screen of the application when someone's inside a bubble, no, it's going to tell me that my kid did this. My kid left forever inside the bubble at 12:23 and 14 seconds and then went somewhere else, and they arrived at that next location inside the bubble at 12:26. Then my kid left at 12:29 and 54 seconds, okay, and drove somewhere else and arrived there at 1:08 and 15 seconds inside that bubble. Then my kid left again, completed however many minutes, he's getting into it right here, and arrived back at home at 1:32.
For 2022 at 1:28 in the morning in 8 seconds.
Can I see what you're referring to?
Sure.
Oh, she fell into the trap and asked for it.
May I approach you on?
Oh my God, she shouldn't have done that. I
You
know,
probably don't need these, right?
No, I'm good.
but I know why she did it. She's seen these before. Canton High School.
Okay, and to make it easy, I mean, you can read the whole thing, but where it says record 16 is what I just asked you about, but feel free to read the whole thing.
Thank you.
And if you would read it silently to yourself and look up at me when you're done.
What is she doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. May I approach?
Did you take Chloe? Did you take Chloe?
Did that help refresh your memory on where you were that night?
No.
Do you still dispute that you went straight home and didn't leave there?
Objection.
Stay.
She looked at him because that's what she was taught. Look over to me before, this is what people do all the time. Look over to me before you're going to answer and give me a chance to object. She's not confused about what sustain means, nothing like that. She knows what it means.
And finally, I just asked you about arriving at Canton High School on January 29th, 2022 at 1:28 and 8
It's not, you're not arriving at Canton High School.
seconds. You arrived at home, within that home bubble, on January 29th of 2022 at 1:30 in the morning and 26 seconds. Correct?
What time did it say I arrived at high school?
1:30 in the morning and 26 seconds.
And what time did it say I arrived at high school?
The high school was 1:28 and 8 seconds.
It wouldn't have taken me 2 minutes to go from the high school to my house. I'm
Well,
confused.
It was 2 minutes and 20 seconds, actually.
Bubbles, one of the areas where you could be, right, on life system?
No.
She's laughing. She's laughing. She's like, no, because she knows how the bubble works. She knows how the fucking bubble works. She knows how the bubble works. She knows there's one bubble, and I just explained it exactly how it works. And so when she's hearing him say, she's like, no, like she knows that that's not right. And she's right. There is not a separate bubble. It's one bubble that you are in, that you create, and that's what you do. Now, there was a trip that was made, and it could be anywhere within that bubble. That's why he didn't say it right. Inside that bubble, she moved at 1:28 and 8 seconds to a different location, 1:30 and 26 seconds. She was at like, so for 2 minutes, and it was be like, I don't know, 18 seconds. 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Like, think about it. If I got in my car right now and I drove from right here to the corner store, that would be in my bubble. And I'm definitely not at home. And it took me 2 minutes to get to that corner store. I could also not even be at home yet. But I think why he's saying she's at home is because it's that like it doesn't move anymore. Like she's done moving. And I'll show you how this works. I have a search warrant from Life 360. Let me see if I have it right over here. It's in too much of my shit, so I'm not gonna go through all that stuff right now. Anyways, she's driving around. So like I don't care what you want to talk about accuracy or whatever. The girl is not home. The girl thought she got home at 12:30 because she just picked up Colin and then she took him home and then she went home. That's not what happened. So there's an hour of unaccounted time. During the same period, that's this unaccounted time, it begins at 12:29, 12:31, 1:08, and then to 1:32. And that's exactly when at 12:29 is when John O'Keefe, he makes his last steps from 12:30 to 12:31. And then here at 12:31 and 22 seconds, she had just finished being somewhere else and then got to another location at 1:08. So it was 12:30, 12:23, 12:26, 12:29, and then 1:08, and then 1:28, and then 1:30. And there's just, it's very interesting to see that she ends up taking a 12-mile drive after basically John O'Keefe takes his last 36 steps on his phone at 12:31. So I'll show you guys that. So here's the data. And yeah, it's all circumstantial. Absolutely. This is circumstantial. But right here, 12:31, 12:32, And it's 36 steps. His last 36 steps. And then that's when at 12:31 and 22 seconds. I'm sorry, at 12:29 and 31 seconds, she had just completed a 12-mile trip. And I think that that's because she went out and took all those other people home that she said she was doing that stuff with. And then she said that she went and chilled with over somebody's house. She was at somebody's house. And then she had to leave wherever she was there because she was with Danielle and this girl. What the hell's her name? And I'm going to rewind it so we can hear about that again. Because she gets tripped up. She picked up Avery and Danielle. 3:33. Let me hear when she says that.
Recall those days?
Yes.
And do you recall what days of the week those were?
Friday and Saturday, I believe.
And so on that Friday evening, starting with there, well, let me ask you this first. At that time, you were a high school student, is that correct?
Correct.
And where did you go to high school?
Canton High School.
All 4 years?
Yes.
And did you play any sports when you were at Canton High School?
Yes.
What sports did you play?
House.
And so this, as far as the friends that you were driving around with, what are their names?
Avery, Panadosi, and Danielle Seaman.
Can you do us a favor and spell those last names for our court
yes.
reporter, please?
Piantedosi.
And the second name?
S. Danielle Seaman, SEAMAN.
Seaman.
Thank you.
And those were friends of yours from school, from Canton High School as well?
Yes.
And had they been with you at the game previously?
Yes, I believe so.
So you, when you say drove around.
You believe they were at the game with you? You don't know?
Through Canton, pretty aimlessly, just driving.
And at some point you come upon a dog, is that correct?
Correct.
And where was that?
On Elm Street.
And
We can't make this up.
dog
Elm
obviously
Street.
goes to you, is that correct?
Yes.
What did you do with the dog?
The dog ran over to the car when we stopped and picked the dog up and didn't really know what to do with it. So we brought it to the police station.
Recall at all what kind of dog it was?
No, white.
Dog, small dog.
It was small. It was white and brown. Not sure what type.
And so while you're at the police station, what if anything did you learn about that dog that you brought to the police?
I went in the police station, the dog.
Now, do you recall whether or not the information that you had as to where Colin was that night, was that? And did you know where he was when he asked you to pick him up?
Yes, the Albert's house, 34 Fairview.
And is that a house that you're familiar with?
Yes.
And what, if any, relationship do you have to the people that live in Delta?
My aunt and uncle and my cousins.
So Brian Albert is your uncle, correct?
Correct.
Paul Albert is your aunt.
Correct.
How is she your aunt? The father's side, the mother's side?
My mother's sister.
And Colin Albert, obviously last name Albert, he's related to people at Fairview as well.
Correct.
That's sort of on the other side of the family.
Correct.
And do you know what, as far as your conversation with Colin, do you know why he was over that house that night?
It was little Brian's birthday.
And so he had gone over for that purpose and you went by to pick him up.
Yes.
And do you recall where you were or sort of who you were with when you first get that
Right here.
text or communication from Colin to pick him up?
Yes, I was at another friend's house after I drove Avery and Danielle home. I went somewhere else.
So you drove with the two friends that you were with earlier home and then you went somewhere else?
Yes, I believe yes.
At that point, did you get a text from Colin?
Yes.
Now,
So right there, she says exactly what I thought she said. She says, after I dropped off Avery and Danielle, I went to another friend's house, and that's where she was. That's where she was when she got the call to go pick up Numbnuts. And that's why I believe when she was driving around and she did all the shit that she did, that she picked up Colin. These are your only options. This is what the data looks like. Take a look at the data. There you go. That can't be it because it was completed. See that big gap there? 12:29 and 31 seconds, 1:08 and 15 seconds. That's your gap there. Or this is your gap here. And I believe this driving around up here, look at this shit, is 12:06 to 12:23. That's going to be the, I want to know if she was planning on sleeping at home that night. Her mom seems cool enough to let her sleep over someone's house, so. But she said that she was at somebody else. She already had dropped them off, and then she went to a different place. It's like going to like a boyfriend's house. I'm telling you. So then let's go back and listen to how she says that one more time.
For that purpose, and you went by Vic.
Yes.
And do you recall where you were or sort of who you were with when you first get that text or communication from Colin to pick him up?
Yes, I was at another friend's house. After I drove Avery and Danielle home, I went somewhere else.
So you drove with the two friends that you were with earlier home, and then you went somewhere else?
Yes, I believe, yes.
At that point, did you get a text from Colin?
Yes.
Now, do you recall whether or not the information that you had as to where Colin was that night, is that something that came via text as well, or was that a phone call or some other type of communication?
I knew he was there. Could have been a phone call. I'm not sure.
So were there a variety of different ways that?
Okay, now are you ready for this? Here's the This is the moment you've been waiting for. Titties in a blanket right here. Fuck yes, Lana. Nail her. Here you go. Curtains. You can come get me now. 11:54. If easier. Okay, I am driving people home now. Boom. Word. Get me after. 11:55. KK. 12:10. She tries to say here. We all know this is bullshit, but just look at it. They're trying to line up this data. Okay. But what I'm telling you right now is we now have proof that she 100% just said on the stand that she had already dropped people off, the two girls that she was with, right? And that she went to a different friend's house and was hanging out there. Okay. She was hanging out there at a friend's house. And that it was when she was hanging out at that new friend's house that she then got the text from Colin. Fuckers. There you go. And then see 12:06. She's not even making any drives at that time. 12:06 and 50 seconds. 12:23. And it's like then there's just like this little jib jab shit. And then 1:08. And this is why I believe that she was at a friend's from 12:31 to 1:08, and then 1:08 is when she would have left. Went and got him, dropped him off, got back home 1:28, 1:30. Come fuck with me. $12:06. 11:55. That can't be it. Let's go back and hear that one more time just so you guys can see it, and then I'm calling it a night. And I'm gonna go celebrate because I just toe tagged Jen McCabe. Where is this?
For that purpose, and you went by Vic.
Yes.
And do you recall where you were or sort of who you were with when you first get that text or communication from Colin to pick him up?
Yes, I was at another friend's house. After I drove Avery and Danielle home, I went somewhere else.
So you drove with the two friends that you were with earlier home, and then you went somewhere else?
Yes, I believe, yes.
At that point, did you get a text from Colin?
Yes.
Now, do you recall whether or not the information that you had as to where Colin was that night, was that something that came via text as well, or was that a phone call or some other type of communication?
I knew he was there. Could have been a phone call. I'm not sure.
So were there a variety
Oh yeah,
of
right
different
there.
ways that you would have communicated?
Right there. The reason that he's saying this is because in none of the messages does it say like where you're at. Okay. So it's, he says, you can get me now if easier. Okay. I am driving people home now. Word, get me after. KK. Well, get you from where? And see, Colin Albert tells the world that she brought him to the party. But she refuses to say that that's how she knew that he was there, which is very, very interesting to me.
With Colin around that time?
Yes, there's other apps as well. Yes.
I'm sorry, you said through apps as well?
Yes.
What kind of apps were they?
For example, like Snapchat.
So you had each other's sort of Snapchat information, phone number information, call, text, snap, could have been any of those.
Yes.
Okay, I also want to show you guys that there's no way in hell that she could have been there at 12:10 a.m. Let me show you. Because I don't give a fuck. I'm talking about movement here. This is all about movement. So take a look. Fuck accuracy and where you think she went. This is all about movement. Okay. The girl didn't. So when he texted at 11:54 allegedly, right, and said, if you can get me now if easier. Okay, I am driving people home now. Word, get me after. KK, all right? Like, they were just staring at their phones like a bunch of fucking nerds, right? 11:54, 11:54, 11:55, 11:55, 11:55, 11:55. Okay, if she was driving people home, okay, I'm driving people home now. Like, so then let's look at the data. Okay, great. You're driving people home now. That means we have you leaving at 12:06 and 50 seconds, January 29th, 12:23 and 14 seconds. You completed a 7-mile trip. 42 miles was your, and there is no way in hell that you could possibly have left, in the middle of doing what you're doing, like, because you're driving people home, right? But that's not what she just said in the stand. She said that she had already dropped off the people. She said she'd already dropped off the people, and that she went to then a different friend's where she was then just going to like kick it. Well, who's going to go somewhere and kick it at 12, what would have been, there's no way in hell wherever she was kicking it that she could have possibly been at 34 Fairview at 12:10 based on the data. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. She wasn't at 12:06 and 50 seconds. When she had said at 11:55 that she was dropping people off, to sit here and say that, okay, then she picked up Colin Albert at 12:06 and 50 seconds? No. So she sat in the driveway for 3 minutes and 10 seconds and then decided to say, here. You guys, I want to take everything off the table of where anybody went. I want to just focus on when anybody could have left to go anywhere, and then when anybody would have stopped the vehicle, they went to the next place. Okay. She said that all she did, her final movements was that when she picked up Colin Albert, she'd already taken people home. Then she went to her next stop, and that's where she was hanging out when she got the text from him. And then she left from hanging out wherever she was to then go get him, take him home. And then she went home. Okay. And that would have been her final trip of the night. Well, according to the data, her final trip of the night would have been the 108 to then 128.08 and then 1:30 and 26 seconds and then 1:32 and 20 seconds. And Aaron Beatty has a timestamp of Colin calling her at 12:33. Now let's talk about that. 12:33. So if he wouldn't have called her at 12:33 if he already had a ride and he was picked up at 12:10. Okay. But he would have made that call at 12:33 if he didn't have a ride yet. Right. But he was able to get a ride. Right. Because that's when Jennifer McCabe drug in her fucking family. All right. So then look at the data after 12:33. And so if you look at the data after 12:33, now it makes perfect sense when (12:31 and 22 seconds, 1:08 and 15 seconds. So if he called to say never mind at 12:33, 12:31 and 22 seconds, 1:08, or was it a call and it wasn't a never mind and it was because he was looking for a ride? And I believe it was this ride, 1:08. And then arrived back at 1:28, which is 20 minutes. And it makes way more sense because this doesn't make any sense in terms of what she said she was doing. On the stand, she should have said, when Colin texted me, I was dropping other people off. So I said, I'll come and grab him after I drop off these people, right? You don't drop off other people. And then in the midst of that happening, that you have to go get Colin, that you don't go and start kicking it with somebody else at their house and say, oh, I totally forgot that you needed a ride, but I went to go kick it with somebody else. But I managed to try. I managed to still be at the house that you needed me to be at 12:10. I mean, does anybody see how ridiculous this is? And the data doesn't match any of this shit. It doesn't matter where she's going in it. I'm talking about the trips. I'm talking about when you got in your car and you were driving around and then it ended. And then you got in your car again and you drove around and then it ended. I don't care where you were going. I want to know the timestamps of when you were physically driving. And that's what the Life 360 app is at least good enough in the situation for. If anybody else wants to be a hater and say, well, it's not accurate. throw out where the fuck the girl was going and who she was picking up. Let's just talk about when she could physically be in the car and when she would have been driving. Can we work with that first grade material? All right, so then let's work with it. And Yannetti talks about these timestamps. 12:23 and 14 seconds, 12:26, 12:26 and 58 seconds, 12:29, 54 seconds, 1:08, and then the 1:30, the 1:28, and then the 1:30 and 26 seconds. And so when you do that, it's like, okay, well, where's any of the data that you would have been driving around at 12:10? Oops, there is none. (12:06 and 50 seconds. You're at wherever you were. And you can't leave a place before you would have ever, like, when she wants to talk about how quickly she could have been wherever, then I'm going to sit here and tell you that, okay, why would you sit in a driveway if you got there at 12:06, but at 11:54 you said you were dropping people off? Okay, I am driving people home now. Word, get me after. Okay, so then 15 minutes later, here, right? Well, none of that. None of that's happening. At 12:10, she says here. So where does it say at 12:10 that a new trip would have started, or that I'm going to sit here and say that at 12:06 and 50 seconds that you sat in a driveway for 3 minutes and 10 seconds sitting there like this, which you would have beaten everybody there then, because you would have been in the driveway by yourself because Albert wasn't there yet. Caitlin, nobody, at 12:06 and 50 seconds, which means that you would have then seen everybody because you would have been waiting right there sitting, and they would have been like, can you move out of our fucking way so that we can pull into our driveway? Sure, no problem. I think Alan's got some bombs, and I think that he should not give a shit. If these people had no problem getting up on the stand and lying, take them all down. Because you probably feel bad. You know, it's kids. She was, 18 when it happened? Now she's 20. But when you look at all these timestamps, when you actually look at the Life 360 data to say, okay, well, she was only physically driving. That's why I think that it'll come out in Jennifer McCabe's, because it's her life. It's like the circle. So that you saw your daughter moving at this time, but Yannetti just needed to talk about the timestamps of the vehicle on when the vehicle was physically moving. Like, it started here and then it stopped here. Regardless of where it was, it left a point. And that's why I wanted to show you guys this shit, which is, this is what it looks like. So, and so like when you get to a point and when it says drive details unavailable, you stop sharing locations. You physically stop sharing locations that's why that says that. So you're at a place, because it shows you that you're at a place. It was a 1 mile trip. And then when it has like this, just like it's like, looks like that's moving. See how it's like it's like you driving. This is you physically in a place. And so from 350 to 403, you're physically like you're not moving in a vehicle. And then the next timestamp now says 350 to 403. Okay, so then 403 to 414. Again, a starting point and an end point. And then you have 414. See this little drive button? 414 to 425. 10 minutes, 4 mile trip. Okay. Then wherever you got to where you're going, you were there from 4:25 until 4:33, and you were just like physically there. And then you left. Oh, wait a second. Then look what it shows. Oh, wait. It then shows, 4:42, 4:53. And what this means, see how it has 2 stopping points? That means 2 things could have happened for that. You didn't share locations. These are faked screenshots, and you fucked it all up because you didn't change this with it. Okay. But you can't get from physically being at a location to then physically being at a different location. And there'd be no way that you got there. Like, where's your driving? But what somebody tried to do is I personally believe that when you use your phone in Life 360 and you're on it and you're talking on the phone and you're using some type of an application, it can fuck with then registering stuff to actually get your screenshot of it. But this should never be, it should be broken up by a movement of driving. And then you were at that location for, 10 minutes. Then see at 4:53 and you're driving. See, then you're about to leave. So then it starts, you're driving from 4:53 to 4:55. Then you're at home. There's no bubbles here. And then this person was at home from 4:55 until 7:54 for 2 hours and 58 minutes. And then they moved again. And they went 7:54 to 8 o'clock, only traveled a mile, took them 5 minutes. Talk about how slow you're driving, or are there a lot of lights? Okay. Then near First Street from 8 to 8:15, because that's where you drove. And then 8:15, now check a look at this. 8:15 to 8:43, 1 mile, 27 minutes. And this is where I said, oh, for the fuck of the Lord. This is somebody that is that, like, what are they doing? Sounds like a steering wheel. I said this is somebody that doesn't want to go into their house. This is somebody that was, I believe, on the phone, pulled off the side of the road for a little bit in this mile, or like pulled up to their house, sat. The drive had to be broken up so that it would still register this crazy shit, but it doesn't take you, obviously, 27 minutes. They were on the phone and they didn't want to go inside the house to have conversation. That's what I believed. Anyways, then you get into your home. It says at home, and they were there from 8:43 p.m. and until that next morning until 11:26. And then at 11:26, they left and drove to 11:38, got out, and they were there from 11:38 a.m. until 12:26 p.m., then left. And this is all Nicole Atkinson's Life 360. If you guys followed the Chris Watts case, the reason she left her house here is because she called the media to go over to Chris Watts's house, and then she met the media over there, and had them interview Chris on the porch, and she did an interview with them. Nicole Atkinson's the one that brought the media over there and then left. And then 12:26 took a drive, 12:53. Then from 12:53 to 1:24, she was eating McDonald's. It's wild. But this is what Life 360 is. If you guys didn't know. It's and you look at your app and it tells you where you're going, everything like that. Now, you want to know why I called Nicole Atkinson out with this app? Ready? I think you'll appreciate it. She went to her and a bunch of people were texting that day. And over at the Watts house, they have a garage ring and a garage door that connects to like the what do you call it? The security system. And the ring notified on Shanann and Chris's phone it went off at 12:10 and then again at 12:17. So at 12:10 and at 12:17. So I looked at this lovely Life 360 app and I said, well, that's interesting. I said, Nicole Atkinson, according to her Life 360 app, didn't arrive to Chris Watts' house until 12:20. So how is the Ring camera going off at 12:10 and 12:17? She's not there yet, right? She's not supposedly there yet. And so much so that Chris Watts called Nicole Atkinson to say, what the hell are you doing? Like, what's going on? Why are you at my house? Like, why are you at my house? Like, his thing went off and she's physically standing there, right? But I said, holy shit, though, like, she's not even there yet. 12:10? Life 360 isn't off 10 minutes. Even 12:17, I was like, no fucking way. I was like, I don't buy it. I was like, fuck, unless she was already there. She was there. And this is her son's Life 360. You guys, I caught so much shit for that back in the day, but guess who was right? This chick right here. If your friend's missing, wouldn't you call their phone if they're missing? If your daughter is missing, would you call her phone? Would you make any calls to their phone? How do you even know that they're missing unless you call them, right? Even if somebody was to tell you, I can't get a hold of that person, don't we make it a habit to then like call them ourselves to see if we can't get a hold of them? Well, I did a ton of digging. And when I put a timeline together in the Chris Watts case, I realized I was like, Nicole Atkinson, wow, holy shit. She either slept there that night in the basement or she got there super hella early because all of these alarms were being set off, number one. And then number two, she's arriving before her Life 360 app is getting there, right? And I'm like, there's no way that can be off. And I said, and in her interview, when she talked to police, she told police that she had to go out to Longmont to go check on a house for her friend Cassie. And I said, who the fuck goes out to Longmont to check on a house for a different friend when you can't find your friend that you supposedly have been calling since 6 o'clock in the morning, or like messaging and they're not answering. So much so that the kids went to Primrose School, and Primrose School had 3 phone calls from Shanann's mom. And they were at times that were like 9, 10, and noon or some shit. Her mom called the school before she ever called Shanann. She never called Shanann. I said, what the fuck is going on? I said, the only way I would not call somebody is if I knew, if somebody called me and said, I'm over here at the house. The car is here. I knocked on the door. I was able to come in, whatever. And I was supposed to meet, no one's here, but the car is here. And then I found Shanann's phone here. Like, you would have to tell me that. You'd have to tell me that I physically have somebody's phone. So therefore, like, not to call that phone. That's the only way I would not call someone's phone. And then I said, holy shit. Yeah. Why would you call? That's why you started calling Primrose to see, okay, let's see if the kids got dropped off. And so that's what they did. And then when I got a hold of this fucking thing, I then noticed, I said, okay, let's take a look at the hospital run, the doctor's run. And I said, yep, this is all a lie. And then sure as shit, I found video to prove that Nick Atkinson, her son, was driving and the neighbor caught it. But right here, I went to Frederick so I could make that trip, and I had a Life 360 app so I could see what it did. Let me tell you what it does. The only way you can make that in 25 minutes and to complete that 16-mile drive is if you do not get out of the car. And that's why there is a starting point and an end point at the same spot, because the trip never ended. She had to make it seem like that she went to the doctor's and that's how she found out, because she did not want to say that she was inside that house. That's why when you actually watch the Chris Watts tapes and you see that when the cops get there and they go immediately into the house, her son goes straight to a couch and looks under a couch cushion when you're supposed to be looking for human beings. Who would ever think that there would be a phone there underneath a couch cushion and find it within like 2.5 minutes? Well, the person that put it there. What is this? What is her significance of her in this case? It's showing you how Life 360 app works. It's also showing you how you can manipulate it unless you go and get the data. And so unless you actually go and physically get the data, I can do a lot of things. I can actually change the top name here and make it seem like, now when you take a screenshot and it says like Nikki, well, take one eye away. It's Nick. So, but also when you walk around with a Life 360 app and you have your phone on you, when you actually look at your Life 360 app, you're going to have a bunch of if you're taking like a longer walk, you're going to have a bunch of lines all over. These people didn't even look like, okay, maybe they're down at the park. Maybe they're down, like, let's walk down there at the park, or let's walk to the neighbor's house and like knock on the neighbor's door and let's go like door to door to door. Nothing that they did was normal. And it's fine. But I'm saying that when you want to talk about lying and why you would lie, yeah, they couldn't say that she was in the house because that would have been horrible. It would have blown up their case, and Chris is exactly where he needs to be. Anyways, Life 360 is fucking stalker tool, period. Seriously a stalker tool. And when you want to talk about Allie, she has a lot of explaining to do because she's not making any drives. And she said that she was at a friend's house because she'd already dropped people off when Colin called. So then therefore she was already at this other friend's house that she then left, and then she went home. That's not what she did at the fuck all. Her data has her moving. She's 100% moving. I don't care where you want to say, oh, it's not accurate. She could be in damn China. The bitch is moving in her car and it's driving. Period. When you want to talk about accuracy, I don't care about accuracy. It's accurate enough to know because it picks you up when you are moving at a rate of X amount of miles per hour. That's when it starts calculating that you're driving. That's how it does that. That's how it knows that. That's how Life 360 works. It knows based on how fast you're getting from point A to point B, point C. And I think it's interesting that a senior in high school would be coming home at 1:30 in the morning and that a parent wouldn't be concerned about that. Wouldn't you be concerned if your daughter wasn't home and it was 1:30? Remember what Julie Albert said? She waits up for her kids. Fucking Jen McCabe's over there like, yeah, woo, let's go out. Yeah, Sarah. Levin said, woo, you a frumpy bitch. Woo, Julie Nagel. Fuck shit, I don't even know what you are. Woo, come watch my dog. I mean, I don't know what type of life these people live, but they are just. Once you check your phone and be like, okay, all my kids are home. Oh, she's home. She's home. Oh, one of my kids. Nope, she's still out in this goddamn bubble. Like, that just seems. Colin had a curfew of what? What was it? 12:30 or something. But Allie McCabe can be out, hanging out till God knows when. If Life 360 wasn't at least 99% accurate, then what would be the point of even having it? 100%. It's accurate. Dude, it's money. When all your shit lines up, like when you look at like surveillance cameras and then you compare your surveillance camera to the timestamp and then you compare your Life 360 app to the timestamp, when you look at that shit, Life 360 wouldn't be in business. You guys wouldn't use Google. Like, the fuck? And like I keep saying though, who gives a shit where she went? The bitch went places and she said she went home at 12:30. I think Kerri's gonna be found innocent. I don't think any of this is gonna be lost on the jurors. But I want to know who's gonna wreck their career and get up there and say that those injuries are consistent with getting hit by a car. I can't wait to see who's going to risk their career for this and who's going to have absolutely no to say. I don't think that we're going to see it. I think that on cross-examination, it's going to be like, is it possible that it could have been this? And you're going to hear, well, yeah, I guess that could be possible. Lally. Tomorrow's going to be off the hook. Today was just a little tease. Life 360 does have a crash detection. It also has a detection that if your kid's speeding, it will let you know that your kid is speeding. It will also, in this little bubble, if you go outside of it, it bursts. But if you you can break your own bubble whenever you want. Accidents will automatically break your bubble. But I can't see that their Life 360 wasn't subpoenaed. There wasn't a search warrant for it. Something. If you're going to go through all of this and have a federal grand jury, don't you think that they would have done that type of shit? The feds. The movement times don't match. 100. And so that's why I think it's cute that she wants to get up there and be cocky about it. It's like, I don't give a fuck where you were. You were out and about. It doesn't matter. You were out and about. And your crazy little movements all happen after your mom basically flatlines at 12:49. Your mom's over there fucking seizing. Your mom's over there like... Your mom doesn't give a fuck. She only gave a fuck when she had to talk to the cops. That's when her heart rate wasn't any type of, like, not even going and seeing John, like, being like, oh my God, this is like real. Like, oh my God, he's dead. He's on the stretcher. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, wouldn't you just be going crazy? Like, the only person that She was, she is the most, like, she needs to shut the fuck up and answer these questions because she just keeps getting herself in trouble. And then Lally meeting up with them 2 weeks ago, the trial had already started. Y'all know that, right? That means he met with Ally McCabe right before she basically testified. And that's why Yannetti and Alan Jackson have been holding back on what they want to. They could have shown stuff to Brian Albert. No. We're holding stuff back so these people can't see some of the stuff so they don't know. And Kerri Roberts is about to get her fucking ass handed to her. Because none of them make any sense. Kerri Roberts is going to look like a scorned little ninth grader. Oh, I like Jen ever since ninth grade. Ridiculous. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me this evening. We're going to be right back at it. Right back at it. I mean, I think the defense on cross-examination has proven that these people could be indicted by a grand jury for this crime. You understand that? That's what I keep looking at. I'm like, all of these people that have been testifying, don't you think that a grand jury would indict them for this murder? Because I think so. There's a man that wound up dead on your lawn. Like, what the fuck? If I got out and walked outside in the morning tomorrow and there was a man dead on my lawn, do you know, like, I would be dragged down to the station unless I lawyered up right, you know what I mean? And said, oh, hell no, which I would, bye-bye. I'm not talking to you. But there is no way in hell that you're going to do a neighborhood canvas immediately. All of those neighbors would have been, their doors would have been knocked on, and they would have been grabbing everything around there. All the cameras, everything. Even if it would have just been somebody that got hit by a plow truck. And then when you find out that it's a fucking cop, that it's a cop that got hit instead. That's why I can't believe that the O'Keefes are just not even losing their minds. I don't care who did it at this point. I cannot believe that this is what you guys did to investigate my brother or son's uncles. This is unbelievable. People say, like, what's the motive? Well, if y'all want to believe that Karen Reed had motive, and that Karen Reed would be dumb enough to do that and leave her boyfriend on a cop's lawn, she didn't like those people. You could tell it was all fake. So I think the only thing that I think with motive with that is that you can either think that it went too far, but there was something clearly up. And I believe Karina Kolakithis when she said that it was really weird because Jen's like, you're coming with me. And then when I walk to my car, I see Karen and John. And she thought that was weird. She said it was really weird because, you know, it's going to be a surprise. Don't worry about it, whatever she was saying. Like, that's come with me weird. Like, are you like 2? Are you like 12? Like, you're a little middle schooler. Jen McCabe gives me, she gives me, the team manager of the football team vibes. No shame, passing out handies and blows to the football guys and anything to be cool. don't know. She just gives me team manager vibes from like high school team manager, or like in college, you have those like little team managers that wash all the clothing and then they're over there giving blowjobs and hand jobs in the locker room. Say whatever you want, but and then she also gives me the vibes of just like you guys remember back in the day when you'd have like AOL and it would pop up on your screen on your home computer, and so like people would like share the AOL account, right? And so you never know like which family member was actually using your account, so you got smart enough to like, hey, we can have multiple accounts here. Well, Jen McCabe reminds me of the person that would have been on your AOL account acting like you and causing hella trouble and just, writing ridiculous shit to like get you like and acting like you just it's up to fucking no good. Just a sneaky little loser. She's the person that has, when you have all this time on your hands in life and because you're not working, you're not doing anything, she has all that time to get herself into so much shit. She's passing out fucking the morning after pill, throwing keg parties. And Matt McCabe's over there like, should I get dentures or should I try to get some like, what do you call them? What kind of teeth do I think he has? He's definitely got like upper new teeth, right? It's like Invisalign. Hey guys, we're gonna take family pictures this year because I got my braces off. Let's go. Veneers. That's what I was looking for. I think he has veneers. I couldn't think of the word. I think Matt McCabe's rocking some veneers. And then you got Jen. It looks like she took a couple left hooks and knocked her jaw out. But just sad. These people are just sad. And then you have to ask yourself, why would why would the district attorney's office even fuck with this shit? You guys know that the Jesse's wife from Full House, didn't she get like arrested for like cheating or whatever for her kids to go to UCLA or whatever the fuck school? That's how I see Jen McCabe getting arrested. Like Rebecca Donaldson. I'm like, damn, everyone's getting fucking arrested on the Full House train here. Let me see if I can find that clip. Remember when she was walking and I was just like, oh my God, Rebecca Donaldson from Full House is getting arrested. Everybody, Danny Tanner's getting arrested. Joey Gladstone's beating the shit out of Alanis Morissette. I'm sorry. What's her name? Let me see if I can find like this. Let's see. Oh, there she is. Yeah, this is Jen McCabe. Totally. Oh shit. Oh. All right, guys, we're out. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Sleep well. See you in the morning.